Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check these headlines we have out here. We've got massive news from the BRICS Summit in South Africa. New partners will be coming in. You're going to get a list of them, and there's major implications here. Now, we've got that and so much more, not even messing around. Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on Twitter and YouTube for exclusive content, as if I forgot, right? $1.1 trillion market cap for crypto, and the market is up right now 1.8%. Good morning, everyone. 26,300 plus for Bitcoin, 1667 and change for Ethereum, 82.7, almost 82.8 billion for Tether. Market cap and XRP's 52 cents. We're up 1.2 on the 24-hour and off by 10.9 on the 7-day. Let me tell you what, we're going to go over some information here about BRICS and some other countries. You're going to need to know it. Right now is a great time. If you have not done it, check out Glint Pay. It is your personal alternative to the banking system. Buy, save, send, and spend real gold instantly with Glint. Using your Glint account, you can own physically allocated gold and then spend it through your MasterCard debit card. There is no bank in between the matter. It is quite amazing. Click the link and find out for yourself. We start right here this morning. I want you to hear what John Titus says here about the Fed and who Jerome Powell meets with more than anyone, even Janet Yellen. Take a listen.
I recently have started to read and try to get my head around crypto and really try to come to some understanding of it. And I'm motivated by the fact that the central banks and the Fed in particular are so interested and it's a borderline obsession with crypto, and I'm trying to understand it. And now that I get more into it and start looking at the problems of the commercial banking system, I'm starting to understand that wherever they want to go, whatever kind of control system they want to implement, they're looking at commercial banks and they're seeing a system that's it's held together. It's not the smooth, efficient, lossless system that you might think it is. There's a lot of Post-it notes being passed and people manually making entries in spreadsheets. That's why the system is so slow. And so that's not the system of control the Fed is after. And I suspect that one of their interests in crypto is what you're talking about. It's we don't have to trust people. We've got a system here. And the Fed wants to know, how can we work that system to our advantage? And if you look, the St. Louis Federal Reserve publishes Jerome Powell's calendar. They publish his monthly calendar. There's a couple month delay with it, but you can look at his calendar every month and see who he meets with. And one of the people he meets with, without fail, every month, between 30 minutes and an hour, is Augustin Carstens. I mean, I swear to you, he meets with Carstens more than he does with Janet Yellen. I would bet dollars of donuts on that prop.
How about that? And what could that be about, right? Well, I think we're going to know what it's about here in just a second, because the question has been, BRICS expansion announced tomorrow, who will join and how many? Well, we've got it for you, because here's where it is right here. We see right here the greatest financial paradigm shift in the history of mankind has just made a tectonic shift. Don't believe it, it's still true. Saudi Arabia and 5 others will join BRICS starting January 1, 2024. Serious question here. Will Saudi Arabia continue to honor the petrodollar agreement? And if not, what happens to the confidence of the U.S. dollar? Let's listen right here as South African president gives us all the news.
As the 5 BRICS countries, we have reached agreement on the guiding principles, standards, criteria, and procedures of the BRICS expansion process, which has been in discussion for quite a while. We have consensus on the first phase of this expansion process, and other phases will follow. We have decided to invite the Argentine Republic, the Arab Republic of Egypt, the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and the United Arab Emirates to become full members of BRICS. The membership will take effect from the 1st of January 2024.
There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. And I believe that what we've just heard there is one of the greatest financial paradigm shifts in the history of mankind. Make no mistake about it. Let's take a look at some facts here. First of all, you're going to hear from the president here down in Brazil. Listen to what he says here.
New members. As President Ramaphosa just said, it's with great pleasure that Brazil gives the welcome to the BRICS, to Saudi Arabia, to Argentina, to the new members, to Egypt, to the United Arab Emirates, to Ethiopia, and to Iran. Now, the GDP of the BRICS is going up to 37% of the world GDP in terms of purchasing power and 46% in terms of the world population. BRICS will continue open to new members, and for that we also approved criteria procedures for future members.
And there you have that. And there will be more to follow, essentially, is what's being said there. But what about that BRICS currency? Because I've said that I didn't expect the launch of a BRICS currency. I don't think it's ready yet by a long shot. I was looking for countries to be announced to join, and that's exactly what we've got. The implications of Saudi Arabia, we're going to get to that in just a second.
On the developed world. Another important thing to consider here, Gareth, is that the conversation around a BRICS currency would gain further momentum and perhaps more strength in the wanting to establish one. And what it would do, Gareth, is that establishing a BRICS country is essential for cheaper trade between nations. At the moment, there is a huge reliance on the dollar, and of course, developing nations cannot afford many goods and services in terms of importing them because of the dollar and the cost at which things are purchased. So a BRICS currency or an agreement to trade in our own currencies with different nations that would be part of the BRICS Plus community would certainly reduce the price of not only doing business, but the price that consumers have to pay for different products.
And I think in there lies the answer. We're going to see them begin to use their own currencies more often, right, in a greater way. That's what we're going to see first before we see a BRICS currency. That is the first thing to note. Now, as I've said here, Saudi Arabia has just been officially invited to join BRICS. That'll happen January 1, 2024, along with the other 4 nations announced. The US dollar is at 79 years as a global reserve currency. There was a 2-year window between the gold standard being dropped and the petrodollar being adopted. Will Saudi Arabia begin accepting other currencies, abandoning the exclusive petrodollar agreement? And if so, what will the U.S. government use to replace the petrodollar agreement to ensure the elevated status and demand confidence of the U.S. dollar? Adopt standard set of value protocols? Take a look here. Again, 2 of these countries out of the last 5 that served as a global reserve currency had an 80-year lifespan. Others, 100 to 113, 115 years. But the reality here is we know that the head of the Office of Comptroller of Currency, Brian Brooks, told us in the last 20 years ago, the U.S. dollar dominance was at 73% and it's now at 58%. He suggested that we are staring at a rapid cliff between 58% to 50% if we don't do something now to be able to absorb the shocks from whatever that transition or change would be. So, with that being said, then I bring this into play. The gold standard was first put in place for the U.S. dollar back in 1944 when it became the world reserve currency. Then it was abandoned just some time later in 1971. And then we needed something, and they knew they needed something to replace it if we came off the gold standard. That's when Henry Kissinger went over and secured the petrodollar agreement in 1973. In that 2-year window, the U.S. dollar went into a free fall of inflation as inflation soared. A 2-year window. It's 2023. If we see Saudi Arabia move away from the exclusive petrodollar agreement and begin accepting other currencies, as was said in the BRICS clip that I just played you there about them using their own currencies, what does that do to the demand confidence of the dollar? Because it obviously will put us in a de-dollarization moment more great than the one we're in. And doesn't it look coincidental, or is it not coincidental? Guess who's back in Jackson Hole today for the symposium with central banks? I tell you, these things are very, very timely, and I do not find them to be mutually exclusive. This is Jerome Powell and Lael Brainerd from the Federal Reserve. I want you to hear this clip. Now, some of you got to see this in yesterday's video, but I want you to understand that what is being discussed here by Chris Giancarlo from a couple years ago was discussing the proposal for the digital dollar and how the government could adopt a standard set of value protocols, and they could be quasi-governmental with strict rules and oversight. And it would be a company that doesn't collect data, but rather helps to facilitate all of this between the traditional world and the digital realm. Take a quick listen to this clip.
All good.
Giving them a standard set of technological protocols to use. So in short, our proposals, I think, is a quite simple one. And that is that there be a independent enterprise. Now, it can be a quasi-governmental. There's certainly a role for strict standards and government role in this. But having been in the government, knowing how difficult it is to actually do technological innovation in government, being a representative of government that couldn't build a medical website, and after 3 tries, eventually went to the private sector to get it done. This has really got to be built. If it's going to be built on time and built, it's got to be built with private sector involvement.
Well, listen, keep listening.
Protocols available to the entire existing financial ecosystem, to banks, payment providers, and others, standard set of protocols, and an ecosystem, to banks, payment providers, and others, standard set of protocols. And it would not be in the business of collecting data. It would be in the business of developing technology only. The relationships that people would have with their providers would be their existing relationships today, but who knows what new entrants to come.
Who knows what new entrants to come? I tell you, it sounds to me, and obviously I may be biased in my speculation, but it sounds like to me he's describing an entity like Ripple and a protocol like the XRP ledger. Remember this? This is fitting because Jerome Powell and Lael Brainerd are back in Jackson Hole for the Central Banker Symposium. Remember when the former Bank of England governor said Ripple and XRP could introduce as a global official sector stablecoin? That's what happened. We covered it here when he came out and said it. He said right here, Mark Carney, 2019, raised questions on whether globally coordinated systemic hegemonic currency could dampen the spillover shocks associated with dominance of the US dollar as a reserve currency. A systemic hegemonic currency could, for example, be a stable coin backed by a basket of deposits at different central banks. It is possible that such a stablecoin could be valuable for cross-border payments, serving a function similar to that offered in the private sector by Ripple, a real-time gross settlement system, currency exchange, and remittance network whose digital currency XRP leapfrogs slow and expensive correspondent banking. Now, I just started this whole video with John Titus talking about how he believes the Fed is trying to get away from the commercial banks. You know, where this goes, no one really knows. But what I'm starting to wonder, and the real question that's surfacing now, are a couple right in front of me right now. One, Will Saudi Arabia continue to honor the petrodollar agreement? I do not think that they will. I think that they will start by saying, look, we'll take dollars and we'll take any other dollars that you of the world that you want to bring. You want to bring your own from your country? Do it. We'll take it. And if that's the case, I think there's going to be a great demand in that alone for a bridge asset to be able to settle all those different currencies. Also, the demand and confidence issue, should they start accepting other currencies and step away from the exclusive agreement of the petrodollar itself. And if that happens, you have to start asking yourself, what will the United States government do next? First, it was the gold standard to ensure the dollar's value and good faith and confidence. Then it was the petrodollar agreement. What will be next? Value protocols like the XRP ledger and XRP? Not financial advice from me or anyone else. It's just my digital perspectives. I'll catch all of you on the next one.